The UK's nuclear deterrent is in jeopardy. It's a simple fact, despite the government's assurances to the contrary. The shocking truth that Britain's nuclear posture relies on just one submarine on patrol at any given time is an oversight too dangerous to ignore. The UK's nuclear security hinges on the credibility of its deterrent, and right now, it is far too fragile. A solitary Vanguard-class submarine, alone in the vastness of the sea, with a potential adversary aware of its position, is a gaping flaw in Britain's defence infrastructure. But it is not just a technical issue. It's a reflection of a deeper, systemic weakness in both Britain's defence policy and its reliance on international allies, especially the United States. The British defence establishment has, for years, relied on a nuclear umbrella provided by the United States. Yet the increasing instability within American politics has left NATO's credibility hanging by a thread. Under President Trump, and potentially under future administrations, the US's commitment to Europe is uncertain. A loss of faith in the United States' reliability has already been identified as a glaring concern, with former US Ambassador to NATO, Ivo Dolder, warning that Allied faith in Washington has shattered. With such a shaky foundation, the UK's strategy of relying on a sole submarine deterrent is dangerously naive. The political realities are grim. If the US were to step back from its leadership role in NATO, who is left to protect Europe? The UK, along with France, remains one of the only nuclear powers on the continent. France's Rafale fighter jets and nuclear-armed submarines, like the UK's, form the backbone of NATO's European deterrent. But let's be clear, relying on a European-only deterrent is not a substitute for American power. The question is not merely whether the UK and France can act independently in the face of aggression. The real issue is whether their capabilities are strong enough to act without American support. Right now, that answer is questionable. Professor Michael Clarke's revelation that the UK's deterrent consists of a single submarine on patrol at any given time is a sobering one. It highlights the vulnerability in the UK's nuclear posture. To use Trident missiles tactically, with one submarine patrolling the seas, would not only alert an adversary to the boat's location, but also severely compromise the stealth of Britain's deterrent. A primary of a few kilotons, though powerful, would pale in comparison to the devastating potential of a fully mobilized deterrent. In an era where precision strikes and missile defenses are constantly evolving, this strategic vulnerability is more than just an oversight. It is a glaring weakness in the fabric of UK security. It's not just a matter of tactical military strategy, it's a matter of national survival. Britain's commitment to continuous at-sea deterrence, maintaining at least one nuclear-armed submarine on patrol since 1969, is undeniably impressive, but it is increasingly outdated. The aging Vanguard-class submarines, which have served longer than originally anticipated, are now struggling to keep up with maintenance issues, pushing their operational reliability to the edge. More troubling still, these submarines are part of a fleet that is scheduled for replacement. But replacements are years away, and no interim solutions have been put in place. The Royal Navy's nuclear deterrent is becoming an unreliable relic of a bygone era. While the UK's commitment to nuclear deterrence is unshakable in principle, the means to ensure that deterrence is still credible are rapidly diminishing. It's no longer enough to pretend that the United States will always be there when the chips are down. NATO's nuclear umbrella has long been the crux of the alliance's defense strategy, but with American politics in turmoil, that umbrella is fraying. The question must be asked, what if the US decides it is no longer willing to shoulder the defense of Europe? Will Britain's single submarine at sea, accompanied by a dwindling and aging fleet, be enough to deter a major power? The answer is no. The UK must reinvest in its own nuclear deterrent capabilities and modernize its strategic forces with urgency. That means a new generation of submarines and a bolstered commitment to maintaining at least a second boat on patrol at all times. We are already living in a world where Russia has increased its military footprint across Europe, where China is flexing its muscle, and where NATO's resolve is under threat from within. If the UK does not step up and ensure that its deterrent is robust, credible, and ever-present, it will find itself exposed. There is no longer room for complacency or half-measures. The United Kingdom must stop relying on a fragile, deteriorating system and demand the strength of a fully operational, fully modernized nuclear deterrent. The next few years will define whether Britain retains its place at the top of global security decision-making or slips into the shadows. We cannot afford the complacency of assuming that the US will always be there or that our existing arsenal will somehow miraculously hold its ground. It's time to acknowledge the truth. Britain needs to act now. The integrity of the UK's defence strategy is at risk. The clock is ticking, and without significant investment in modern, credible deterrent forces, Britain will pay a steep price in the future, if it's not too late already.